welcome to another round of Sports Reviews. Tonight I'm reviewing the round of 16 and predicting the quarterfinals of the 2021 Scotiabank CONCACAF Champions League. First, we will review all the round of 16 ties, and I'll tell you if I got my prediction right for it or not. And then, in chronological order, and then we will predict the quarterfinal ties and preview them. So first off, the first tie, Atlanta United wins 2-0 on aggregate over LD Alajuelense. The tie was not very eventful, but Atlanta did the job. What a tie by Rocco Rios Nova. What a player. He's amazing. Brad Guzan got the early red card against Alajuelense and Alajuela. For me, Rios Nova played like a man possessed in this tie. He was great. Joseph Martinez wasn't the game breaker I thought he would be. But let's be honest, it's the first 2 games of the season, preseason form. Hasn't played in a year plus, might I add. Joseph, of course he wasn't going to look so good. The new signings started to work their way in. Heinze's strategy looked pretty good. But with the situation Alajuelense were in, especially in the second leg, they should have definitely scored more. They should have won this tie by more. They should have not had Alajuelense be in there for the whole 90 minutes of the second leg at Kennesaw. It was a mistake. That was horrible. But Atlanta gets the late goal from Jurgen Damm to close it out. The penalty in the first leg, the away goal by Ezequiel Barco. Easy enough, but was way too nervy for Atlanta, and they're lucky that they're facing an MLS team next round, because if they were facing a Mexican team, I think they'd be out already. Well, not already, but next round. They'd be out. I don't think 2 league matches is going to give them enough time to be strong enough to face a Mexican side. But we will see what happens in their next 2 league matches. Maybe I'll be wrong about that, but I'll get into that. But I did get this prediction right. Predicted Atlanta to go over Alajuelense. Of course, I said if Joseph played, they would. It wasn't really Joseph, but they still got over the hump. They got through. The second tie, Portland Timbers win over CD Marathon, 7-2 on aggregate. Not very hard. Yeah, they made a couple of mistakes in the first leg at San Pedro Sula, but everybody does that in MLS. For them, for Portland, they still scored lots of goals. They looked offensive even when they made mistakes. They still went forward. They still pushed. They still tried to push the play and play forward. Marathon really never had an answer, especially in the second leg. But even in the first leg, they were lucky that Portland weren't as sharp as they were in the second. Portland got a lot sharper in the second leg with their fans, with it being at Providence Park. But Jimmy Chara with a hat trick to give them 3 of their 5 goals and 3 of the 7 on aggregate. Pretty much simple. It was over by halftime of the second leg. Portland did what they had to do. 5-0. What a match. Covered that one with a live stream, but amazing play by Portland. They look pretty strong. They look very possible to beat a Mexican side. I think Portland's a good team this year. They're a dominant team this year. They're in the contention for Supporters Shield, MLS Cup, CONCACAF Champions League. They're going to be great this year. Also got that prediction right, 2-0 so far. Third tie, Cruiserwell beats Arcaí FC of Haiti, 8-0 on aggregate. All those 8 goals coming in the second leg at the Azteca. Arcaí just, after that first goal 3 minutes in that could have been called away, pulled off, chalked off, they just died. They didn't. The first leg was amazing for Arcaí, but the second leg, after the first 3 minutes, they just died. They were like, whatever. We're going to lose anyway. We're not going to score 1 or 2 goals. Like, they thought their best chance was on penalties, and they were right, probably. They just capitulated. And they lost one of their best players from defection, and 2 more of their players defected after the match was over in Mexico. And that's a sad thing to know. That's a sad thing knowing Haiti is that bad that their players want to defect. That's sad. But I ain't got much to say about this tie. Cruiserwell did their job in the second leg. Honestly, 8-0 on aggregate is believable, but over 2 legs, not 1. But there you go. I got this prediction right too. 3-0 so far. Now the fourth tie. My team, my boys. Toronto FC beats Club Leon on aggregate 3-2. And I got lots to say about this, even though I've already covered this tie pretty much comprehensively because this is a Toronto channel first. Buy the shirt, profile picture, all the videos. Yeah, I'm basically the Steve Dangle of Toronto FC, if you know who that is. But there you go. I really am, honestly. And CONCACAF, but Toronto FC is my team like the Maple Leafs are his. Ironically enough. And I'm also a Maple Leafs fan. Ironically enough. But Toronto FC with the youth movement, pressing. They had a great game plan. They stuck to it. They continued. And they scored 3 goals. And they beat Club Leon. When everybody was counting them out. Not me, but everybody else. Everybody else was counting out TFC. And they were like, oh, these youth players aren't going to do anything. These youth players aren't good enough. These youth players won't beat Club Leon, the reigning Liga MX Apertura champions, Guardianes. Nobody thought that, but I did. I thought Toronto could do it. I was positive. Now, when I saw the first lineup, I'm like, oh boy, not great. Not great. Then I saw the second lineup. I'm like, not great. Then the way they played after the first leg, I was proud. An away goal may have been an own goal. It was an own goal. But it may have been an own goal. We didn't really score it. But they still had a draw that felt like a win. Coming back to Wide World of Sports Complex in Orlando. And they actually won. With a possibly worse lineup than the one that was in the first leg. With a couple of more injuries for players that were out. And they still won. They pressed. They went forward. They dominated that game. Even though the stats may not have said it, I think everybody can admit Toronto was the better team in that game. Leon was sleepwalking for 80 minutes until Navarro scored the goal. And they're like, oh, all we have to do is score 1 more. And Toronto's probably not going to score a third if we score another. Go get it and shithouse your way to it. But then Toronto's like, no, we ain't going to let you do that easy. And they start playing a bit dirty. 2, shithousing. Look at Alex Bono in goal. Holding the ball. Turtling. Yeah, that was amazing, by the way. Toronto holds on. An amazing tie. An amazing win for Toronto FC. They go on to the quarterfinals and in amazing fashion. I'm so proud of Toronto. And that's 4-0 on predictions because I picked Toronto to go through. I was sitting on their side the whole time, and I still am, of course. 3-2 on aggregate. Amazing by Toronto. The fifth tie, which is the only one I got wrong. Philadelphia Union over Deportivo Saprissa. 5-0 on aggregate. This tie was pretty much dominated by Philadelphia the whole time. They got an early goal. Kasper Shavilko in the first leg down in Costa Rica, and they got 4 more in Philadelphia. And I know you could say, but Ryan, you didn't give Philadelphia a chance. You weren't really giving them any good graces. Well, I didn't think they'd be that good. I know it's a Costa Rican side, and I know Saprissa hadn't been great. This is probably a good draw for them, Philadelphia. And I'm still not sold on Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sold on them in MLS play with teams that are on their level. Saprissa's not on Philadelphia's level, especially with the problems and the tumult they've been going through after the CONCACAF League final. Them getting rid of Walter Centeno and replacing him with Roy Myers. And just being horrible in the league. And finally getting pipped by Alajuelense. Again. It wasn't really great for them. They're not on Philly's level, even with Philly losing McKenzie and Aronson. I don't care about Stuart Finley. Dude's a center back. Philly don't make really good signings. When it seems like it, they don't. Now, they could prove themselves to be good signings, but I'm not going to stick with that because sometime their luck's going to run out, and I think that's going to be this year. Which leads to how I'm going to make a prediction for the quarterfinals. But Philly got enough goals to go through. They dominated the tie. Saprissa was not what I thought they'd be. I throw my hands up and say Philly got me once, but I won't be wrong about where they finish in MLS this year. 6th in the East, probably make the playoffs, but they're going to be low. They're not going to be top 3 in the league again. No. I'm not going to be wrong about that, but I'll throw my hands up and say you got me this time for one tie. I may have overestimated Saprissa a little bit, but I got this one wrong. 4-1 in predictions. The next tie, Club America over CD Olympia, 2-2 on away goals. This tie was probably the most underwhelming for the favorites, for the Pot A teams. They're really the favorites. If you're in Pot A, you're the favorites. If you're hosting the second leg, you're the favorites when it comes to the round of 16. And Club America, they got 2 goals in Honduras, but Olympia almost took them to the woodshed in the second leg. Got the early goal in the first half. Jerry Bankston tied it up not tied it up on aggregate, but if they scored another, the tie would be done, even if America got another goal and it was 2-1. The tie would have been theirs. And Olympia did play dirty, but for me, America only did enough to go through. They didn't really want to dominate this tie. They didn't seem dominant. They just wanted to get through, and that's probably going to hurt them in the long run, whether that be the quarterfinal, semis, or the final. This is not the Club America I saw against Leon. Not the Club America I saw in this Liga MX season under Solari. This was different. This was kind of like Piojo's America in a way. And I didn't like seeing what they were doing. This was not them one bit whatsoever. This was not them. They were just like, okay, we just got to get through. And they took it to the teeth. By the skin of their teeth, they went through. And I got it right. I called them going through. That's 5 for 6. But come on, you got to do better than that. It's Club America. It's Club America. And Solari has been looking amazing. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, some of their results haven't been so convincing, but this was the least convincing of them all. Next up, now the Thursday ties, the final 2. Columbus Crew SC over Real Esteli, 5-0 on aggregate. This was dead from the first leg. This was dead from halftime of the first leg. Columbus just dominated Real Esteli for 45 minutes, scored 4 goals, and then for the rest of the tie, they were just like, screw it, we're going to play it out. If we score again, we score again. Hell, if they score, they score. They got their job done in 30 minutes, honestly. And that's all they needed to do. And I'm not trying to cut them out. Columbus are dominant. They're amazing. They basically dominated the second leg just by playing it out with a second team. And Real Esteli is not that good, but wow. What a performance by Columbus. Amazing performance by Columbus. And you can see more of my thoughts on this tie because I did 2 live streams for this tie. There you go. And finally, 6 out of 7 on predictions. Finally, CF Monterey Rayados over Club Atletico Pantoja. 6-1 on aggregate. Kind of the same type of tie for me. Dominant, pretty much over by the first half of the first leg. Didn't really need to have to play out 3 more halves, but they do because it's the competition. Monterey, just dominant. Dominant from go. And dominant with a B team pretty much in the second leg. Pretty much mirrors Columbus in a way. Copy and paste what Columbus was for Monterey. You get my thoughts on that tie. Got it right, though. Predicted Monterey to go through. 7 out of 8 in the round of 16, which is pretty good. I mean, that's great, but I kind of wished I was 8 for 8. But hey, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you lose. 7 out of 8 is pretty damn good. If you bet with me, you're going to be probably rich, honestly. Now, with that said, now we're going to predict the quarterfinal ties of the 2021 Scotiabank CONCACAF Champions League. First off, on the upper left-hand corner of the bracket, Cruiserwell of Mexico versus Toronto FC of Canada. Now, for me, this is going to be an amazing tie. This is probably the main event tie of the round. For me. Well, of course it is for me. But honestly, Monterey versus Columbus, one of them are probably going to be a little bit more dominant than the other. It's kind of going to be a little bit more one-sided to me, I think. Philly and Atlanta, no. Club America Portland, I could say that's probably second. But Toronto versus Cruiserwell is probably a main event to most people. For me, especially if Toronto gets their players back, but even with the youth, even if it's half and half, I still think it's a main event. For me, Toronto FC, they want to win this tournament. They are not going to give up. As they said, they're keeping the knife in between their teeth, in between their gums, whatever, in between the teeth. I think that's right. For me, and I love that. I don't know why I kind of half forgot that. But another one for me is run through the tape. They're not going to stop running now. No. They're going to get their players back. They're going to be better, not just as good, but better. Just look at how good we're going to be with our actual best 11 back. We were amazing. Great with the kids. Just guess what will happen when our best 11's back. We'll be world beaters. And I think most of our best 11 is going to be back for this tie. And Cruiserwell rather would have the Liga MX, especially after being embarrassed by Pumas, than have CONCACAF. And they're going to put more to Liga MX. And if they lose this tie, they're not going to be pissed. I mean, yeah, they're going to hate it, but I don't think they're going to be angry. They want Liga MX. They've won CONCACAF before. Cruiserwell basically sticks to Liga MX, especially the damn Pumas one. They want this. They want the league. I don't think they're going to put out like their best 11 against Toronto FC. But Toronto will have mostly of their best 11. It'll probably be a A- team, a B+ team, somewhere around there for Cruiserwell. For me, I'm sorry. I just see Toronto going through. These Liga MX fans, every single time we're in the CONCACAF Champions League, they're like, rip Toronto. Rest in peace, Toronto. Dude. Lady, whatever your gender is and you sleep on Toronto. I don't care if you're a dude or a chick. You don't know, all right? Toronto FC in the MLS has gotten to the level of CONCACAF TFC, but CONCACAF TFC is a different beast, all right? You don't say rip TFC until you've killed them, all right? They will come for you. They will ring you up and knock you out. The closest the Liga MX team has gotten to knock Toronto out of the Grandes is Chivas. They did it on pens, and that was the final. Santos is not a Grande. Shut up. You're not a Grande. Or you don't think you're a Grande. It's Tigres, Chivas, Club America, León, Cruiserwell, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The actual 4 Grandes and then the 2 Equipo Chico. Sort of. I don't know if they're full Equipo Chico. Well, actually, León probably is now, but Tigres isn't. But those teams, they couldn't knock out Toronto. Cruiserwell hadn't done it. They played Toronto before. Couldn't do it. For me, stop sleeping on Toronto FC. They're going to win this tie. And come back to me in 3 weeks. Because free week, leg 1, leg 2. Come back to me in 3 weeks when I do this video for the quarterfinals and semis. Come back to me. You think I'm crazy? Just wait. Toronto don't lose the Champions League. Don't lose in the Champions League when they're the underdog. When everybody's sleeping on them. When they're favored, they lose. Or it's more likely that they lose when they're favored. Like the Chivas tie, like Independiente, but when they're the underdog, they don't lose. They don't lose. Toronto goes through to the semifinals. On the same side of the bracket, the bottom left, CF Monterey versus Columbus Crew. I think Columbus Crew are going to get this tie done. Columbus Crew are a strong team. Monterey are great too, but Columbus has something about them that just makes me think that Monterey, this will be the first MLS team that could deal with Monterey and not be slayed by the MLS killer. And that's the other grande. I forgot Monterey. There you go. I knew I only had 5 out of 6. There you go. But I think Columbus will not be slayed by the MLS slayer. Monterey's a good team this year, but Columbus is deep. Columbus is deep, buddy. Columbus is deep. They remind me of 2017 Toronto. They really do. And, of course, because Tim Bezbachenko is the GM, and I still trust in Tim Bez. Columbus, they want this just as bad as Toronto does. They do. And I think Columbus are not going to quit until they're forced to quit. But I don't think Monterey could throw that at them. Monterey's good, but Columbus, I think, is just a bit better. Columbus goes through the semifinals to meet Toronto FC. And whenever the away leg is to Columbus, I'm going, buddy. And you're going to see me there in August or September. Probably September. See you there, because it's one of the legs per month after August. Then the third tie, the quarterfinals, Philadelphia Union versus Atlanta United. The one that nobody cares about unless you're a Philadelphia fan, Atlanta fan, or you have to cover this stuff like me. Oh, wait, it's being played on the same day as Cruiserwell Toronto. Great. I don't have to care. I mean, I'll talk about it when I do another one of these videos after the quarterfinals are over, but that's all you're going to hear from me besides this prediction. Because who cares about MLS versus MLS? A team that's getting back to where they should be to a team that's falling back to where they should be. Philly's not winning this tie. I don't care. Atlanta is going to get back. As I said, Philly is not going to be good against teams that they're equal or better, possibly. Philly's not good no more. They're not going to be good no more. Atlanta is going to work back into form over their next 2 match weeks. And they're going to face Philly in this tie and beat them. Gabriel Heinze is a better manager than Jim Curtin. That's it. They've got better players. Even if they're just getting work together, they're better. Atlanta wins this tie and goes to the semifinals. You get 3 MLS teams in the semis. Now, for me, the final tie is the closest tie. Club America versus Portland Timbers, the bottom left. And I hate to say it, but for me, I think Club America goes through. Now, hear me out here. I know Club America looked like dog water in the tie against Olympia, and Portland's probably going to get Niasgoda, Blanco, and Abobase back. True, but America's going to find some dark arts to go through late in the second leg at home, because guess what? America hosts the second leg. Philly hosts the second leg. Monterey hosts the second leg. Cruiserwell hosts the second leg. All the teams facing Mexican teams are going down to Mexico for the second leg. Unlike Cruiserwell or Monterey, America has the dark arts, and I still think they probably have the dark arts on their side, because if they didn't, Olympia would have knocked them out. For me, I totally think America's going to shithouse a win in the second leg, and that's what's going to get them through. Probably going to be like a 2-2, 3-3 draw at Providence Park. And it'll be a 2-1 late win at... It'll be a 1-1 late win. Like Portland's holding the win for like 80 minutes. And then America scores one. Then they have the 3 away goals. And they go through 4-4 on aggregate for away goals. That's what's going to happen. I'm just afraid of it. Portland's going to get screwed, honestly. And not in a bad way, but like, it's going to just be like, hey, here you go. You get the short end of the stick. That's what happens. So those are my 4 predictions. Toronto, Columbus in the first semi. The second semi, Atlanta versus Club America in August. That's what I'm predicting, and I think I'll be right. But there you go. Those are my round of 16 review and quarterfinal predictions. If you like this video, like it, share, subscribe. You know what it is. Tell all your friends. Tomorrow, I will be on Sons of a Pitch Soccer / Toronto Sports Insider because he's simulcasting it on both. Live watch along for Toronto versus CF Montreal. CF Montreal versus Toronto FC, the 401 derby. And doing my own RSR for it after, like always, as is tradition. You know what it is. There you go. I'm Ryan and I'm out. Peace.